Hey everybody, Beth Helvey with Couture Real Estate here. It is Wednesday, the 7th of April. I hope y'all are doing well today. Want to talk about appraisals. You've probably heard about it. A lot of people right now are across the country are making offers on property that are over the asking price. These people are still getting loans. And we're seeing properties actually sell for over asking price with people getting loans. And people are still getting loans because money is still cheap. Interest rates are still very low. They're finding that for their financial life, that's a good thing for them to do. So how does this work? Basically speaking, if you overbid on a property and you get it, you are responsible for making up that difference. So if you are buying a $500,000 property, you go in at $525,000. If the contract price is $500,000 and the appraisal is $500,000, you are paying $25,000 out of your pocket. What we're hearing some things about is from my colleagues around the country is some appraisals are coming in low. And we tend to go through phases sometimes where appraisals come in low and appraisals come in spot on. And part of that might just be because the market is kind of crazy right now. What happens then? If you are buying a $500,000 property and your appraisal comes in at $490,000, you've got a $10,000 difference, okay? There is something in the Florida FAR bar contract that protects you, the buyer. Even after you get past your inspection phase and even after you get your loan commitment, this lives outside of the loan commitment. Essentially, if your property that you have an offer on does not appraise, for some reason it comes in below appraisal amount, the lender will say, I'm sorry, we can't give you a loan. And if you need to, you can exit the contract and get your escrow back, okay? Oftentimes what happens is that we go back into negotiations. The seller will lower the price, the buyer will pay the difference, we'll meet in the middle. There's a lot of things that can happen. However, if you're in a situation, which some people are these days, where the seller will say, I don't care, I'll just put it back on the market. When the buyer exits the contract, if they decide that they want to do that, they will get their escrow back. And this is outside of the loan commitment time frame. Whether it's a loan commitment of 30 days, 45 days, 60 days is irrelevant. This lives outside of there. So a couple things to remember about your appraisal is it's a visual inspection of the property. When you're getting a conventional appraisal, it's a visual inspection. It's not your inspection. It's not your home inspection. What they're doing is they're going in and seeing what the property is. Where is it located? What's the view? Is it in good shape? What are the finishes? Granite, laminate, tile, etc. What's the roof made of? How big is it? How many rooms does it have? Does it have a swimming pool? Does it have new windows? They will run comps and they will pull permits to see what kind of updating has been done to the property. This is one of those things that will set you apart from other properties in your neighborhood. When 2020 was like late spring, summertime, we would have some drive-by appraisals, especially for properties that were newer, built in the last 2, 3, 4 years. We're not seeing that as much now, possibly for the new properties, but it seems to be not happening as much now. And then what they'll do is they'll go back and then they'll take the properties that are in that neighborhood, if there are enough, and then they will do a comparison. And this is an opinion of price, okay? If your opinion of price comes in way off, you can try to challenge it. Sometimes you're successful, sometimes you're not. And sometimes you can ask for another appraisal. Sometimes you can ask for one and sometimes you can't. It depends on, the parameters and so forth. The only difference with these appraisals is if you are getting an FHA loan or a VA loan. These are government-backed loans and they're a little different. Basically what will happen is the appraiser will go in and do more than a visual inspection. They'll check the windows, they'll check the AC, they'll flush the toilets, they'll turn the water on. They're doing a little bit more of a functional test. So if you are buying an FHA property or a VA property, your best bet is to make sure that that property needs no work, that that property is functional, that it has no issues. Because what will happen is say, for example, they go and they can't open some windows. That appraisal won't be approved until the seller fixes that issue. So these are things that we need to be aware of. When you're out looking with your realtor, you really can't look for fixer-uppers. with a loan and an FHA loan. So that's basically appraisals, and a lot of people are getting them. Everybody's so busy right now that if you can't get your appraisal within your 30-day loan commitment period, that's okay, because you still have that safety net. And what happens with your loan process is that there are several things in the loan process that have to occur before the appraisal is done. So there is a list of things that must be done in order before you get to the appraisal. So if you're asking, I've been under contract for 5, 6, 7, 8 days and I haven't had my appraisal yet, why is that? Well, have you turned everything in that your lenders asked for? Are they asking for paperwork that they haven't yet received from you? If they haven't received that from you, they can't go to the next step, which is the appraisal step. So you need to make sure that when you, if you're anxious about the appraisal, that when you start your loan process, that you're on top of things and you're giving your lender the documentation that they need within the first couple of days, okay? And that'll do it, especially if you've got a tight closing. You really need to stay on top of that. That's in a nutshell, that's appraisals. Again, it's an opinion of price. They're coming in sometimes spot on, sometimes a little high, sometimes a little low. If they come in high, if you're buying a $500,000 property and the appraisal comes in at 505, 510, that's fine. That doesn't mean you're paying more for the property. It means you've got equity. And the seller doesn't know that. So the lender, the closing agent, and the realtor should not be sharing that information with the seller. That appraisal belongs to you. What happens if your property appraises for more than purchase price is that you're walking in with equity. You do not have to raise your price. That does not alter it. That only alters it if the appraisal comes in low. And then that's when you go back into negotiations to try to find a reasonable solution that satisfies both parties. I hope I answered some of those questions. These are things that have come up in the last few weeks, but don't forget, you've got the safety net. So if your appraisal comes in low and you cannot negotiate yourself out of that, you can exit the contract at any time, even the day before the day of closing. You can exit the contract after your loan commitment and get your escrow back. Your escrow is still protected with a loan and an appraisal, okay? And unless you're getting a VA or an FHA loan, it is only a topical viewing of the property. VA and FHA, they're also looking for some functionality. So be careful if you are doing a VA or an FHA loan. So if you have any other questions, throw them in the comments. Send me a DM, whatever you want to do. And if you have any questions about real estate in general, throw them in the comments or send me a DM. I love hearing what you guys have to ask. It is beautiful today. It is going to be in the low 80s and sunny and breezy and beautiful. If you have the opportunity to get outside, I encourage you to do so. Drink your water, wear your sunscreen, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.